Simmering tensions and several no-shows as President Obama's Arab summit gets underway. The White House hoping to bridge a gap on Iran and a nuclear deal. Our next guest has a new book. It's called The Great War of Our Time, an insider's account of the CIA versus al-Qaeda. And that author is former CIA Deputy Director Mike Morell in studio. And good morning to you. It's good to have you on our program.
Great to be here, Bill.
On Iran, do you support a nuclear deal with Tehran?
So I come at this from an intelligence perspective. So what I would be telling the president is two things. One is the most important piece of this is the transparency and the inspection regime, right? That be as rigorous as possible so that we can see what the Iranians are doing. The second thing I'd be doing is putting this in a larger context for the president, that this is not the only thing the Iranians are doing that is bad behavior, right? Supporting terrorism, doing terrorism themselves, supporting insurgents in the region. Yemen's a great example of that. So a lot of things the Iranians are doing.
And you know, if you do a nuclear deal, you're going to give Tehran a lot of money up front. And you don't know what they will do with that money.
I think the even more important thing than the money is the legitimacy that the Iranians would get by signing any sort of agreement with the United States of America.
Wow. Is this president obsessed with getting a nuclear deal with Iran?
You know, I'm not inside his head. I'm not in the sit room for the last year and a half. I can't answer that question, right? The Iranian nuclear program is an issue that has to be fixed, right? But Iran as a whole is an issue that we have to take on as a country and support our Middle Eastern allies in the process of doing that.
ISIS now, and you talk about this and you write about it at great length. You say we missed it, and a lot of people wonder how in the world could we miss it. My question, though, is this. In your view and your meetings at the White House, is this a war the president is willing to fight?
Yeah, so I want to go back to your missed it, because I disagree with you, right? We missed part of it. The part we got right was al-Qaeda in Iraq, which eventually became ISIS, right? Al-Qaeda in Iraq was at its weakest point when the United States left Iraq. We saw immediately that they began to gain strength because less pressure on them militarily and because Prime Minister Maliki was doing things that alienated Sunnis. So we saw that growing strength. We reported on it. When they went across the border into Syria and became ISIS and got their hands on money and weapons and recruits and got stronger, we reported on that. The part we missed was how quickly the Iraqi security forces would collapse, right, in this blitzkrieg by ISIS across Iraq. So we got much of it right.
There are questions about how willing they were to fight over the past decade plus. But back to the question, is this a war today the president is willing to fight in your estimation?
So I think so, right? Every interaction I had with the president, he did what needed to be done on counterterrorism. You know, there's counterterrorism operations every day conducted by this country. Some of them started by President Bush, continued by President Obama. He always did the right thing when it came to protecting the country, in my view.
In this country now, and you've taken a lot of questions on this, the growing threat among lone wolves, which seems to be something that's getting a lot of attention. But you could make the argument that Fort Hood was a lone wolf.
Right.
And the Times Square bomber was a lone wolf.
Boston.
The point of Boston. The point is this is not new. Right. Why is the administration coming around to this now?
Well, I mean, look, we've always been focused on this. The FBI's always been focused on this. The challenge now is that the problem's bigger, right? The problem is now ISIS with its Madison Avenue style social media reaching a lot of young men and women with very slick messaging and is radicalizing many, many more people than al-Qaeda ever did. So the problem is bigger today. It's not that the problem has just come out of nowhere.
Last question on Benghazi. You told Greta last night you still believe, and the intelligence suggests, that raid was carried out because the rioters in Benghazi were watching what was happening in Cairo.
So
now just the question is this, though. What were they watching Cairo on?
So on social media, on Twitter, right? That's what the folks...
So do you have evidence that they were on their smartphones in Benghazi? So watching their iPhones and their iPads?
So look, what I say in my book, what I said to Greta last night, and is exactly what the analysts have said all along, right? So this is not just Michael Morell. This is not just the CIA. These are the analysts across the intelligence community, right? Nonpartisan, non-political, saying here's what we think happened in Benghazi. And based on what I know, I agree with them.
They were watching what was happening in Cairo.
That's what the analysts said.
And reacted.
And reacted to it. Now, terrorists, extremists, right? Not just protesters, bad guys.
Mike Morell, thank you for your time. The book is called The Great War of Our Time, and it's a read that is worthwhile. Thank you, sir, very much.
Great to be with you.
And you as well.